Good morning, everyone. This is Nick Donnelly, CEO and founder of Continental Aspire Soccer TV, where I am here with a real legend, not only in Brazil but to a lot of Jamaican fans out there who will actually know him, who obviously formerly with the Reggae Boys. I want to welcome Clovis de Oliveira. Clovis, welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Nicky. As you said, Earth 8:32 here in Rio de Janeiro.
Yep.
And I tell you, not common for us in Rio. It's a cloudy day, but right. I'm ready here for us to talk about one thing that I love very much is a soccer.
Absolutely. I just want to educate our audience on you. So Clovis, I'll just go through it. So you were born in 1954. You're born in 1954, which was actually the first World Cup that Northern Ireland ever appeared in. So 1954, and you were born in Rio de Janeiro. You're born in Rio de Janeiro. Your football career list went on where you actually went on to play for Vasco de Gama when you were 14 years old. You then from there you obviously to play for your boyhood club, like one of the four biggest clubs in Rio, and before going on to play for the Brazil under-20s, which was seen as the under-20, not under-21s at that time. And you went away to your first tournament with the Brazil under-20s and came through the whole Brazil system. And that was where you went to your first tournament in France in 1972. And then from there, upon playing for Brazil, you then picked up a knee injury at that time, and you actually were in your position. You were a right back at that time. So from there, so like I say, I just want to let everybody know who you are. And obviously you've worked extensively in Brazil and around the world. You worked in America. You've worked for the Reggae Boys in Jamaica. You've worked in the Far East in many roles. And then in addition to that, you have a degree in physical education. So you've went on to further and higher education. So I just want to welcome you to CAS TV, just to give us a bit of an indication of your early life and first footballing memories and what influenced you as a young aspiring footballer.
Yes, Nick, as usual in Brazil, modest family, a poor family, and I should say 1 hour out of the Rio de Janeiro town, interior of Rio de Janeiro, starting to play here on the field, like we used to say, a funny games, enjoyable games with the friends. In one of those games, somebody from Vasco da Gama watching me playing, and that I was told you I was 14 years old, and they took me to Vasco da Gama. Actually, I was very surprised in that time. I was in Vasco for 2-3 months. It was my first time when I played at the Maracanã. It was a huge tournament, what they used to do in the years 60s, 70s. With the kids in this age, they put so many kids to play, but big clubs such Flamengo, Fluminense, Vasco, Botafogo, São Paulo, Corinthians, it was a national tournament. And that it was the time that the first time I stepped on the Maracanã grounds and did my game. It was fantastic. That it was my beginning.
Right. And so one of the things I was wanting actually to ask as well, so before you got to that stage, what would you say did your family love football? Because in Brazil, football's the national sport.
Oh, yes, of course. Actually, when the first time I born, they gave me one soccer ball, and usually we do that. Even you just came out of your mom, it was there in the hospital, and the first thing they give to you, it's one soccer ball. And they did the same, and we love it. And so many fields in that time, because now in the words, you know, development of the words. So building and constructions and things like that. So they are ending all the fields. This same happened in Brazil, because we starting to telling you one of the best thing we have had in the world, any place in the world, for you to learn the react, the learn to get out of the good situation on the games, is when you play funny. No coach, no this, you go on the street, you play with the ball, soccer ball, you play with the socks ball. Usually you do, before when I was young, Nick, some balls, small ball with the socks, you know, socks and papers, and at the school, the time you relax in the school, you go there and you bring this ball and you play this ball. So that's the best one, and we used to do a lot. Unfortunately, as I told you, now this time being is not very possible. And as my family loved football, we are the big family, like 12 sisters and brothers. Of course, now it's not this anymore, but in that time, and I was and I am the youngest son of the family. So in all the 11s, you know, treat me as a baby, treat me as nice. And the most important, all of them support 100% my career since I was a little boy. Okay. My mother, I haven't got father for all. When I was 2 years old, my father has left the home. You know, even I used to have a contact with him, but my mother, it was the queen. So, and she loved football, and she was in all the games I had since I was a little kid. And and for this time, I had the pleasure, Nicky, let me tell you that, when I was coaching in United Arab Emirates, and it was the 1982 World Cup, and God give me the pleasure to take her to watch the World Cup. It was her dream, you know. Right, okay. Because she supported me.
So whenever you kind of went through this whole kind of environment, so your whole remit from obviously aspiring to be a professional footballer. So most kids in Brazil, because when Europeans think of Brazilians, one of the things that they think of, Clovis, they think of they're coming from extreme poverty. They're in the slums. They're in, you know what I mean? So football is their way out of that. Football is like the social connect to getting to a better life, for example. But to Brazilians, football is a way of life in Brazil.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you said. And still are the same. I should say 98% of those star football star that you know as Brazilian, Neymar, Philippe Coutinho, Ronaldo, Romario, all of them come from the extremely poverty.
Yeah,
it is not my situation. I was poverty, not extreming like, you know, but most of them, Nicky, it's a way of life. They thinking about that because they see one Neymar and they see Ronaldo, they see Ronaldinho, and they think it, and that's not the reality, because we have approximately 15,000 professional, you know, signing in our Brazilian Confederation, 15,000, and those one that we are talking about, like the star, it's 0.something%.
Yeah,
different than a lot of problem the other ones get, you know. But it's still, they love, they think that they give something to the family, they can do something for himself, and that's the thing. What you said, it's happened with Brazilian football. Is the way of life.
Yeah, and it's very obviously community orientated. I mean, to give you an example, I know we know each other through like a mutual friend, and literally one of the things is I remember obviously, for example, when you obviously came over to Curacao, to see him, and obviously when Romario came over, and I remember obviously you and Romario being very good friends. Romario being one of Barcelona's best ever centre forwards, probably won the World Cup with Brazil in 1994, and but seeing him coming over and kind of working with the kids, and then giving kids a chance to come to Brazil and actually learn the Brazilian way of football, because the level in Curacao being obviously being a good connection for Romario, because when he came, being coached by Johan Cruyff in that dream team at Barcelona, the beginning of what Messi and that ultimate Barcelona team became a part of, would you say that whenever you were actually when he was coming over, and obviously giving back to kids that were from a similar environment, because Curacao has a lot of poverty. It has quite a bit of poverty. Would you say the culture, because it's a kind of a Latin culture a little bit in Curacao, but it's a Dutch colony. So the football, the connection between Brazil and Europe, especially Holland and Spain, would you say there's a strong connection there? So when Romario was going into that environment, it was very identical.
Yes, Nicky, you mentioned another point very important, and that it was not the first time when I went to Curacao. I used to be there before with my son as my assistant, and we spend, I should say, 2 weeks there, giving clinics and for the kids, and play some funny games, and coach some clubs, and it was fantastic. And after that come my idea, and I spoke to Romario about it, and he, he's too much expensive, his fee to come and give a clinic and this and this. When the Michael Hart, that you know him, is the time when we meet each other. Yep. Michael Hart, I proposed to him, I sent him this project with Romario, and that time he went for free. He just took some friend with him, enjoy himself, just relax his season, and usually he doesn't do that, and it was great. It was great because I remember that event, so many kids, and he was so kindly autograph and play with the boys and teach them. And coincidentally, after that, Curacao is starting to improve and making this partnership as we did and we do in Jamaica and most of the Caribbean country. And now Curacao has do that. I had an opportunity, Nick, at that time. Even I spoke with the president of Curacao. Michael introduced me, and I took them my plans, my project, football project. But unfortunately, it didn't go through because I had to go somewhere else. I don't remember this time. I got invitation from the Middle East country, and I went there. But is Romario is the one that, in that time in Curacao, put the football high, and we did a great event, and it was very nice. They like to do that.
And so whenever you're looking at that, so obviously that was kind of going forward, and that's kind of how we met, just so people kind of understand kind of the connection there. So whenever if you kind of look back, obviously you're growing up in Brazil and being such a strong footballing culture. I think that's what's great when I speak to people from the Soviet Union, from other places in Germany, Holland, everywhere, and that's what I love about football. Yeah, I love the social impact football makes. But if you look at like your career, you came through the academy at Vasco de Gama, so you had an instant connection. One of the most successful clubs in Brazil, one of the four in Rio, one of the big four. In terms of your career, you were kind of going on, and explain to us your journey through Vasco da Gama and later being a part of what it means for a Brazilian player to be a part of the Brazilian national team or the youth.
Yes, Nick. And that time, the way that the clubs, they take players from them, all of them, all of the big one in Brazil. They have their make selection inside the clubs. They have a lot of people that have a look in whole corner of Brazilian, the most farthest place in Brazil. So the clubs, they make relations with those people that look after the good player. They get one good player on the north of Brazil. They took them to Rio de Janeiro, living there, and so and so. For me, my situation, it was a different, but it was the way that big clubs did in that time. How? They take their teams on preparations and go for these small towns out of Rio and have a fun games. It's events, you know, fun games. And with me, it's the same. They went in my place. It's called Xerém. It's 1 hour from Rio de Janeiro. Very, very near, but it's nice. But it is out of Rio town. They went there to play the game and against my team, and they choose 3 players for my team to go to Vasco da Gama and starting there to make evaluations, tests. I was one of them, and these 3, only myself continued with the Vasco da Gama and signing the contract. So, and I go step by step, playing in all the basic age category. I was under 14, under 15, under 16, and under 17. And that's time when I was under 18, and I was my best time, you know, start from Vasco da Gama and come and go and the captain of the team and play my time. It was Zico in Flamengo. We got so many players. This Falcão, it was in International. Those 2 players, for example, they were in this national team. But what happened when I was playing in under 20 of Vasco da Gama, I was practicing with the seniors. We did that a lot here, you know. You practice with the senior team in Vasco da Gama. Of course, you are young, you just starting. The weekends, when the games come, the coach, he put you in under 20, you play the game. When come again, Monday, you go back to senior team. I don't know if you understand this.
Yeah, absolutely, you know? Yeah.
You just came to make stronger your under 20 and also to keep me as a player to play in the game, not only training.
Yeah.
Because at that time I was not playing on the senior at Vasco da Gama.
So you were 18 at this point? You were 18 years old?
Yes, I was like this, 18, exactly 18. Okay. Because it was the Can France international tournament, they used to call, with all of the best selections, national teams in the world. And Brazil, always, it was go in each 2 years. In 17, that time, I was chosen by...
For the Brazil under-20s, is it?
Under 20, I was chosen. And our Rio de Janeiro state champion continue under 20. We used to play that time in Maracanã. All of our games in that time, it was in Maracanã. Before the seniors, we played the juniors. We call juniors. And unfortunately, as I told you, I couldn't make it this trip, this tournament in France, because in our last game of this champion Rio de Janeiro, I got injured. It was one game in Maracanã, Nicky.
Right.
And I have my leg a little bit like curves, you know.
Right. Okay.
Problem when I born, but I never felt anything. No pain, no injury, never. Since I was a little boy. But unfortunately, against Botafogo, Vasco and Botafogo, I went there as a right fullback. I scored the ball. I crossed the ball for Roberto Dinamita. I don't know if you remember Roberto Dinamita. He played in Barcelona. He's a striker.
Yep.
It was also president of Vasco da Gama recently.
Yep.
And he scored the goal. And I was just sharing the goal, Nicky. You know how share the goal? You give a little jump and go. like this.
Yeah.
When I did that movement, my knees, my foot, and twist like this.
Okay.
It was once.
Okay.
Even
And
though
that
I
was
had
it.
never had a pain before, but that time I went, and I went 1 surgery, 2 surgery, 3 surgery, in that times on 70s, so no research,
Science wasn't
no
as
problem.
advanced as it is today.
And that's why I had to stop. I continue 1 year, 2 year, trying to recover my surgery, but unfortunately I couldn't make again. And
Right.
that's the time when I went to the university. I went to the university, I got a degrees and starting, even though just to
Well,
finish.
I just actually have a question on that. So when you were in, because to be picked for Brazil, I mean, Brazil's such a big country. And there's so much talent in Brazil. I know in Europe, when people think of Brazilians, they think of really good players. They think of players that have a very good relationship with the ball. They're technically sound, they're tactically sound. And especially Brazilians, especially in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s, it's a team that has been so dominant, great to watch, easy on the eye. Do you know what I mean? Very, very easy on the eye. When you looked at it from that perspective, and obviously the position you played, being a right back, you would have to know how to attack as good as defend. So the Brazilians were very, very strong. So to get into even the Brazil squad and to be at Vasco de Gama at that time, I mean, it must have really complimented you as a player. You must have thought, you know what, I'm a really good player. I'm considered one of the best players in this country in my position. So whenever you were going through that journey, and then all of a sudden you get an injury that you got, and it literally, and you tried for 1 to 2 years to come back from the injury. Would you say that was a regret for you that you still think about?
Yes, Nicky, it's amazing what you just said, man. Exactly perfect what we thought before. I say, my God, how come? I want to give everything for my mom. Right. Good life,
right?
Good style of life, and this
right.
Work. And one little jump, it's end my carry. What I can do, and thinking sometime about that, I was chosen. Even I was injured, recovering my surgery. The coach of national team, almost once a week, he was going to the club and to check it out, to Clovis de Oliveira, how he was recovering, because I had confidence that I can take him to France. And I start to think, my God, I was the best in my position with 18 years old, even playing under 20. I'm the best. That coach, he used to have a different list, you know. He has 11 here, 11 here. He used to make, let's say, 5, 6 different teams, you know, with someone. And I was with his six teams. I was the starter. He didn't switch any time with the right fullback. It was Clovis from Vasco.
Okay.
And I started to think, I said, oh my God, but God give my life fantastic. He make me, I starting to study, because I always, even playing Vasco da Gama, for that time, nobody started. No kids. The player, they didn't like and they didn't have time. But I found time for me, even with a lot of difficulties. But I was going to the school and I got the degree.
When you went in the Brazil national team, what types of players did you play with that went on to play for the Brazilian national team?
It was Zico, Falcão, that I remember. I don't remember too much, but the most famous one, those two they were in that national team. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, like Falcão? Socrates and people like that. Yeah.
No, not Socrates in that time. No.
Okay.
My age, it was Falcão that playing Roma. You remember Falcão?
Yeah.
1982 World Cup midfield.
Very good.
And Zico. Those two ones I remember. It was one that was in that group.
Right. Okay. And I mean, in terms of, I know, like, so obviously, as you fast forward, then your career kind of comes to an end. So then you go on to like your education. What was kind of your plan in terms of when you went to do physical education? What kind of did you want to do? How did you feel you were going to evolve? Did you want to stay in football, or what was kind of where was your mindset at in terms of football wise?
Nick, you just said that you like a lot of those social part of the football like this. And also as me, as a teacher, as a father, as a human being, I love this too.
Right.
And that's what you mentioned, it saved my life.
Right.
Because we usually, as a young boys, we used to live in the camp, concentration in Vasco da Gama. At the stadium, they have the dormitories and things like that. And we used to be around the 36 boys living in Vasco da Gama.
Okay.
And only myself studied in that time.
Right.
And
Okay.
the fact that I did that, I was taking care of my education, my academic formation. It saved my life.
Right.
Because what can I do? I just think playing the national team, what I would do my life, my mother loves my people in this. And that's, I started to study. I got a chance to get inside of the University of State Rio de Janeiro, physical educations. And from that one, there is one program. It's called, they don't have this program anymore. While I was finishing, I was taking my degree. The end of this, United States and Brazil, they have got one program that called Part of America.
Okay.
Exchange coaching. Brazilians send a soccer coach for them, and that time they didn't have nothing. I'm talking about 1978, 79. Yeah. And American sent to us as a basketball coach, as a tennis coach, swimming coach, exchange this program.
Okay.
Very powerful. It's not anyone couldn't make it, because around, let's say, 100 professionals want to go to American, only 6 of them it was chosen.
Okay.
But Clovis de Gama, from Vasco da Gama, I got my contacts, and fortunately, the president of the Coaches Association, the Confederation, Brazilian Football Confederation, used to be my director in Vasco da Gama.
Okay.
When I went there and explained him that I want to do, and so he said, how many spots they have to send it to America? I said 6. Almirante. I said 6. He said, no, Clovis, there is no 6 spot anymore, only 5, because 1 is yours. You go to America.
Okay.
And that's from that time, Nick, my life is starting to change radically. With this chance to go to America, my life changed radically. And I continue with football.
Take us on that journey, Clovis, and what that kind of entailed, and from when you left in 1979 to let you go to America, and what you did there.
Yeah, that was a great. When I had that on my mind, I told my family that I want to stay to America. I want to stay to America. I want to do something with football. And from that, every university, high school, and clubs of YSO, the associations involved with football, besides I give my speech, because I give for clinics, for boys, for coach, and this, I spoke with the people, sponsor for the situation, and tell him then what I thought about this, what it was my idea and my plans. And when I talked to them about my plans, I made a contact with them, so many states of America. When they end the program, Nick, around 35 days after I reached there, I got some invitations. such Stanford University, that I used to go there to give clinic.
Okay. Yep.
Stanford in San Francisco. And another one, it was Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, the Mormon College.
Oh, okay.
And I
Mormon
talked with
College,
them. Yeah, I was in Colorado Springs that time when when finished the program. And I started in there, we talk. I decided to go to Provo University. When I finished in Colorado, instead I take a plane to go to Rio de Janeiro. I take my plane to come straight to Provo, Utah, and I started to become a head coach of Brigham Young University.
Oh, okay. So leaving Brazil, thinking you're going to be a player, now all of a sudden you're in, of all the places you're in Utah, it's kind of, I think it's the Mormon capital of like the world, I believe, from if I'm not mistaken. And so what was that journey like from being in a professional environment like Vasco de Gama, where you get some of the best players in Brazil and actually obviously the world? Because not just so people are aware, I mean, some of the players that have come through there, obviously, like I say, Romario, Philippe Coutinho, I mean, Miranda, I mean, they've had some really, really good players that have come through there that have went on to play for Brazil and play for Europe's elite. So what was it like? So obviously you were at the university, and how did you find that leaving the football culture of Brazil to go into a football culture in America that's nothing like the football culture of Brazil?
Mainly in that time, in 70s, it's really happened what you said. It was shock, you know. Right. And I have a good history to tell you about this, you know, because that time they had a culture to play as a 3-5-2 system, tactical system. And you know, historically, our football, Brazilian one, historically, it's a 4-4-2.
Right.
You know? And I started to explain them, to coaching them intensively, and I decided to change. Let's see how you people, American, kind of a college level, how are you going to do with this? It was disaster. Okay. Our first game, we went to Las Vegas to play against University of Las Vegas, and we lost 10-0. I say, my goodness, what I'm going to do? Brazilian international
baptism of fire, you know.
and the people, my family from Rio, oh, Clovis, you're going to have a very successful. You are the best. You are the top. You should the best, and you will succeed there. But I didn't tell him that my first game I lost 10-0.
Wow,
it was terrible. But we keep in there. I got back in my principle and starting to learn and to 3-5-2 and coaching them that, and it was fantastic. And after that, it was 6 months after this first game, we had one East tournament in there in Provo, and Brigham Young University got the trophy, and that has made me very, very happy.
Right. Okay. So would you say, like, just the transition of understanding that coaching is not, it's not plain sailing. It was such a big learning curve, because I can definitely see the learning curve coming from a really strong footballing culture like Brazil and going to America, where it's the complete opposite. It's not the same. It's not the same mentality. You know what I mean? Because in America, it's quite a privileged sport, as a lot of Europeans would say, or even Brazilians. You know what I mean? Versus in Brazil and Europe, it's a working class sport, literally. And so obviously, as you kind of go through that, so when did you leave the university in Utah? What year did you leave there?
Yeah, and after that, I stayed there 1.5 years, coaching and keeping contact. I starting to meet agent and explain them what I would go and do, and so and so. I got back 1.5 years later, came back to Rio de Janeiro,
Okay.
And start, I got an invitation to be an assistant of Vasco da Gama under 20.
Okay.
And I even couldn't take in that time, because suddenly I got opportunity to come to, it was my first professionally, because in America it was a college, it was university. Even though I got a salary, I got everything little bit, but it was a college level. And professionally, it was that first one. I took opportunity to go to Colombia. Brazilian coach invited me to be his assistant and the seniors, a kind of a physical preparator, a physical coach.
Okay.
And to the seniors and coach to the under 21, that time of 23, because they have two champions in Colombia at that time.
Right.
Play the seniors and play under 23. I was the physical coach with him, his assistant, and also coaching the under 22. And from that one, we'll have to take 1 month here talking about my career, because it's starting to make a boom. I went in, as you said, all the continents. I work in Colombia, I work in Caribbean, I work in Middle East, and the things coming, thank God, very nice. Until now. I got back in Vasco da Gama many times, as you know, my career as a coach under 20 with some player fantastic in the world, like Edmundo, Carlos Germano, goalkeeper, Edmundo Animal that playing Fiorentina, Brazilian national. All of them used to be my player. And also, as I told you, as a executive director of the basic age group, technical coordinator. Recently, 2014, 2015, I worked with the seniors Vasco da Gama as manager of the captains, player, and technical observer. That it was the last job in Vasco da Gama, but in the world, usually to be a head coach of some of the first clubs in the Middle East country. And also, I went to the Olympic Games. It's good for you to know that. I don't know if you know my history.
That's right, yeah.
With René Simon's coach. He was the coach and invited me to be his assistant when we took the silver medalist of the women's team, Brazilian women's team.
Okay.
With Marta, Cristiane. They are very close friend of mine. And we went there to play. We went there to play that final against USA.
Okay. I remember that. Yeah, very long.
In Athens, 2004.
Okay. And
Nicky, let me tell you, and these shirts from there.
Yeah, that's right.
Silver medalist, Athens 2004.
So, Clovis, it has been really great having you on here. And like I say, so pretty much people can obviously leave comments for us, and then we can send those on to you. And then once you have your platform up, we are going to be able to provide that for people. When Romario and yourself are actually going to come to the UK and do some stuff with us, I think it'll be very good. So for anybody that wants to get a hold of you, they can come straight to CS, and we'll send you on those messages and comments. And that way you can answer. But we will be doing a Q&A as well, clinic-wise. So, Clovis, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real learning experience for me, and especially for the audience. So anybody who wants to know, and just leave all your comments in the section below, and you can reach Clovis. You can reach out to him via, I believe you're on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
LinkedIn too, but Instagram and Facebook should be my pleasure.
So you're
Ayo Clovis.
Okay, so you're on both. Okay, no, that sounds good. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.